We're sitting with School Superintendent Joseph Erardi, speaking with local taxpayers and voters ahead of the 2016 Newtown budget referendum happening on Tuesday, April 26th. Voters can report to Newtown Middle School between 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. to cast their votes. Dr. Erardi, what are your comments to Newtown taxpayers ahead of this next week's vote?
John, first, thanks to you and the Newtown Bee for the opportunity, and thanks to this community for the continued opportunity to be the superintendent of Newtown. Is something that I feel very privileged to be. My takeaway, I want to start by sharing my takeaway driving home from the last Legislative Council meeting that set the number for the electorate for Tuesday. My feeling was that in all three cases with all three levels, the Board of Education, the Board of Finance, and the Legislative Council, they could serve as a model for what good government should represent. And I say that not because it sounds smart, it's something that I should say, that in every level, the homework that was put in by elected officials, the time they invested off camera to be prepared to make an informed vote is very impressive. I've been doing this quite a while, and I've never seen that level of commitment in any place I've been. So my hat's off to every one of the elected officials who brought this number forward to the community for next Tuesday. With that being said, I sit here as an enormous supporter of the budget that's moving forward for Tuesday, and I do it for the following reason. When I watched and listened at the Board of Finance level, and I watched and listened at the Legislative Council level, my feeling was that in both cases, there were members of the respective bodies that felt the number sent forward by the Board of Education should be maintained, and there were folks at both bodies that believed that because of a number of factors, the number should be cut even more significant. And there was equity when the day was done, meaning that there was a space that was found that for the most part, all members of each body could coalesce around and say that they were in. I think that's really an important piece to this, that through the landscape and the scope of a school superintendent, you always want what you sent forward supported in full, but there needs to be an understanding. Thus the reason why I support the work that has gone forward, and I believe that it's appropriate and a positive place for the school board. With that being said, the Board of Education over the course of the 5 or 6 weeks had a reduction of $316,081. The number is a bit different, but the actual reduction is $316,000. That'll be a challenge, but the challenge is doable. Thus the reason why I sit here supporting the budget going forward. What made this problematic for the Board of Education, there were really three different places. Place number one was that through our grant funding from our friends on the federal level, in both our Department of Education and Department of Justice grant, they sunset fund this school year, and there were needs for us to continue, particularly around our mental health providers, to bring them forward in our operational plan. The second piece, very similar to the town side, we experienced a flat level of health insurance cost last year. This year it's an 8% increase on the Board of Ed side. That's a big number for the school board, hundreds of thousands of dollars. The third piece is probably the most turbulent and the most problematic because it's the most unpredictable. And that's what's happening in the state of Connecticut right now as the governor works, I think, very hard to try to bring a budget back to balance. With that being said, our reimbursement for our excess costs, our youngsters that go out of district, continues to be a very different number, the number that's going in the wrong direction for the community coffers. So that's a concern of ours also, that we're running into deficit in our special ed. And the last is that in many school districts, we will offer, or they will offer, an early retirement incentive plan once every 5 or 6 years. We did that last year, and that had the opportunity to offset contractual obligations for the new year. This particular year, because of last year's offering, we own all of our contractual obligations. So what that all really meant was moving forward from the Board of Education, a 3.67% increase. The number in front of the electorate, the taxpayer, is a 2.89% increase, reductions that took place at the Board of Finance and the Legislative Council. For all of those folks that are part of the school board, our staff, our administrative team are very supportive and hardworking parents. If they're asking the superintendent of schools' opinion, I am hoping that when they cast their ballot, and I'm hoping that everyone finds a way to cast their ballot, that it's a yes vote for Tuesday on April 26th. Thank you.
School Superintendent Dr. Joseph Erardi speaking with voters and taxpayers ahead of the April 26th budget referendum. Polls are open at Newtown Middle School from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Dr. Erardi, thanks for talking to the readers of the Newtown Bee and our visitors at newtownbee.com.